It's Team Freddy versus Team Jason. Which one will Bella Swan date? Remember back when that was a thing?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is about actual monsters fighting each other. Hey everyone, welcome to the 31 Days of THORGIWEEN. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is the first video in Icon Week. Yes, all week long is going to be a theme week in which we are going to be covering films that focus on some major icons of horror. And I wanted to go big to kick it off. So we are going with Freddy vs. Jason. That's right, I'm giving you two iconic monsters for the price of one, even though I'm pretty sure all the Freddy fans and all the Jason fans would far rather I just talk about any of their good films. Let me go ahead and get into it. First off, this is a post-geek out reaction, which means it's not a review, it's just our discussion about the thing that we just watched, so that does include full spoilers. It feels really weird to say that about things that are a decade and a half old. Typically, we say these things, we do these for things that come out on that day, like a movie that comes out that weekend. So I don't really feel like I need to warn people about spoilers for this one, because if you haven't seen it yet, you probably didn't care. But yes, this is a film that people had been asking for forever. This was that big showdown that all the God damn it. That all the horror fans, I don't know why, but I kept almost saying all the foreign film fans. Like, if you go back, like, everybody rewind like 15 seconds, you will see all the Why did I think all the foreign film fans wanted to see this? All the horror fans wanted to see this one. I'm sleepy.
All the Far Hilm fans.
Far Hilm. Here at Far Hilm, we smoke the best ham this side. Okay, everybody's just, you know what, this is an amazing metaphor for this actual film, because everybody out there is like, just get to Freddy versus Jason. That's what everybody's saying throughout this entire film. Yeah, here's the thing, let's actually discuss this film a little bit, because I saw this not when it came out, but when it came out like a year later on DVD. And I know so many people weren't liking it then, but I watched it then, and granted, I was just a dumb 20-year-old at the time. Not saying 20-year-olds are dumb, just saying I was a dumb 20-year-old. But I was defending it. I was like, what else do you guys want? Like, yeah, it gave you Freddy vs. Jason, that's what you guys asked for. So I was a big defender of this film that everybody hated, and this is the first time that I've seen it in that long period of time, and I gotta say, I see the problems with it now.
Yeah, there
definitely has major freaking problems.
It does have problems, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
It's one of those things where everybody had been waiting for this. Everybody had been like, these are the two that everyone wanted to see face off. And first off, I didn't have the biggest hype going into that. You know I'm a horror fan, but Freddy, I was always a little bit creeped out by Freddy. Like, the whole idea if he can get you in his dreams, that's a creepy idea. But like, I don't know, man. I found a lot of the stuff they did really creepy, but there's just stuff about, like, you know, it's hard for me to be scared of someone who says bitch that many times. I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, anybody who is constantly just saying bitch that much, like, it doesn't freak me out, man. That's like, you just sound like a dude at that point when you have the power of this big supernatural thing, which I get is part of the appeal of him, but that's one of the reasons he didn't freak me out. Plus, he is really big on, like, being a sexual predator.
Yeah, and
like, that's a major part of him, and it's weird. I never felt afraid of that. I just felt more offended at it. It's like, oh, come on, man, for real. Like, so Freddy was one of those things where I always found the concept of him scary, but the execution, there were times I found it enjoyable. Like, his sense of humor with the kills was always like, it's kind of funny. But then there'd be other moments that would always just take me out of it. But with Jason, I gotta be honest with you, I was never afraid of Jason. Like, I've seen a decent chunk of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I've only seen about 4 of the Friday the 13th films, just because they didn't do it for me. Like, I saw 1, I saw 3, I saw 8, and I saw 10, which I know a lot of people are gonna go, 10 doesn't count. Well, what can I say? I saw it. But yeah, it just never really did for me. I know people say 6 is the best, but 6 is like a comedy film almost, and people say that's why it's the best. It's like, well, I'm not gonna go into it and be afraid. But the reason why I was never afraid of Jason was because I'm just not afraid of slashers. Like, the very first Halloween kind of creeped me out because it's just a really well-made film. After that, none of the Halloween films creeped me out. Like, none of those other, like, lesser slasher films, they never did it for me. It's because the thing that always freaks me out is something that you can't run from. And slashers are guy with a knife. And I'm always just like, it's threatening, and don't get me wrong, I get faced with that in real life, I'm gonna freak the fudge out. But I'll run, and that's the thing that I always look at these guys as. Yeah, man, I could probably outrun you guys. You're very slow. Very few of you actually, like, try and pick up and start running. Like, to me, the scariest slasher out there is Jack Torrance, because you're at that freaking cabin up there in a snowstorm. Of course you can't get away from that. So yeah, it just never really got to me. Plus, like, that hype just never really got to me. But also, I just always kept looking at these two as like, man, we gotta have them face off. I just always looked at that like, how? How is this going to work? Mm-hmm. This amazing, like, battle royale that you've always wanted to see, how's that gonna go down? Because Freddy only exists in the dream world, Jason exists in reality. If you get Jason to go to sleep, he's totally outpowered. You have this dude going up against basically the god of dreams. He's not gonna be able to fight him like that. And Freddy can't come to the real world, so how on earth do they fight? Like, to me, Jason versus Michael Myers was always the one that made the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Mostly because those two franchises almost go neck and neck exactly the same beat for beat.
Yeah, I understand that, but, like, I feel like people prefer Freddy versus Jason because they have completely different dynamics.
That's the thing that makes me realize.
Yeah, it's like, Freddy is like an unstoppable force, and Jason is the immovable object.
That's a real good way of putting it, actually. I thought you meant more like personality.
Oh, that too. I meant that way too.
Because, listen, even though I will say Jason versus Michael Myers, both big, unstoppable killing machines that just walk and stab things with sharp objects, never say a freaking word. Both of them had films where they supposedly died, only at the end of the film for a tiny child who helped kill them to show up and be hinted at to be the new murderer. Yeah, these two franchises match up insanely well.
Also, they're both based off a date. Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck, that one never even hit me. But yeah, so that was one of the reasons both of them went on murdering sprees while completely engulfed in flames.
They both wear masks.
Both wear white masks.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was always like, those are the two that make the most sense, but then I have to tell myself, yeah, but their showdown would be
boop, boop, walk, stab, walk, stab.
That's the film. I will admit, that's boring as shit. So yeah, it's like, all right, I get it. It's like, you want the shit talker versus the big tough guy.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, when this actually gets to them fighting, I like that they kind of play into that.
Yeah.
Because Freddy's basically like a leprechaun to him. Like, he's just jumping around, like doing a jig around him. Like, like he climbs on him to get up to his face. But yeah, so like that was one of the reasons that I never
Meanwhile,
really...
Jason is like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
Like...
But yeah, that was one of the reasons why I never really like went into this as hyped as everyone else was, because I was just like, I don't have the attachment to these two guys that everybody else has. But the other reason why I kind of defended this film is that so many people, like, the main complaint that I heard people say was, oh god, the teenagers in this, they're so bad. They're such bad characters. And I was like, you're right, they absolutely are. You know who else are bad teenagers? Almost everyone in all these franchises.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, the teenagers were alright. They were pretty relatable people. In fact, most of the Nightmare on Elm Street people tended to be pretty decent. But Friday the 13th, it was always, there's the one girl who's okay, everyone else is a complete asshole. And Friday the 13th also, and Nightmare on Elm Street eventually kind of started following that formula too. So when people complained about the teenagers in this, I was like, they're the exact same thing, brother. It's the exact same
it's like a lot of like horror films in like the late 90s, early 2000s always had like the douchebag asshole teenagers that you didn't give a fuck if they died.
I didn't even go like early 90s is when that really started. Like, no, maybe even like late 80s. I remember the Friday the 13th films in the late 80s started following that trend. God, what was the one where they had, I'm trying to remember, there's one Friday the 13th that is just, I always looked at it like, that guy is a complete piece of crap. I'll get to it later. But yeah, it's like, that was one of the other things, is like, yeah, man, I agree with you, but pot calling the kettle black on this one. Don't go, how come they can't be like the great characters in this one? It's like, you gotta go way back to find what the characters in these things were
Like,
good.
maybe the first movie, and that's it.
The first ones were pretty good. Yes, exactly, because if I want to think of Friday the 13th and everything it stands for, I think of the first film where Jason was truly defined. Stop writing in the comments! I'm sorry, I want to give everyone time to go, Jason was not the killer in the first... I know. Isn't that insane that Jason has not been the killer in 2 of his own films? Anyway. Yeah. Man. So yeah, that was one thing that I always defended about. But then, when I watched it this time, like a little bit late, like, you know, now I'm older, now I can really judge it, I'm watching it and I'm like, these ones actually are worse. Like, like, I still stand by, they've been bad in all of these. These ones are pretty darn bad. Mm-hmm. But also, this film has a big problem where, like, in the other ones, the characters would show up, they'd all kind of get to know each other, they'd all kind of bond and stuff. Characters just get thrown in here, and it's like, we gotta move this thing along. It does not matter at all. Like, there is a party that they go to where Jason just goes ham on the whole place, and there's a stoner there for one moment, and then when everybody's running out, the stoner jumps in the van with him, and the stoner's just part of the team now. And everybody's referring to him by his name, which is just Reefer.
I guess, or some shit like that.
Although it's not like they were saying Reefer, but I'm assuming it was Reefer.
Whatever.
Oh my god, Reaper versus Jason. God, that'd be awesome. Sorry. No, wait. Roadhog versus Jason. He's basically him. Anywho. But yeah, so...
Now that I think about it, like, Junkrat is kind of
Freddy! Oh my god! Holy crap! He's just Australian Freddy!
That'll be our next Overwatch Halloween skins.
Oh, I've been saying, I was saying since last year, I want a Roadhog with a hockey mask on. But anyway, that's a different topic. But yeah, I was watching this, and like when that stoner guy jumps in there, he's just part of the crew now. And they're just all talking to him like they know, like there's no moment of like, oh hey, I'm this guy. No, he's just, it's like, did you guys know each other from school?
I think so, because he was the one passing out like invitations to the party.
Yes,
but other than that, I guess that is the character development for this guy.
And then like the one cop who like believes that Jason has something to do with this, he just walks into their house, into their basement, and then just goes and sits down like, I'm part of this crew now too. It's like, for real, man? There's like no, like it really is just get from one thing to the next. We don't care about these characters. So yeah, I will admit the characters, I still stand by them being bad in the other films, but they would take the time to establish them, have them talk to each other. Here, that is not done at all. So it's like, all right, I can agree with that now. But the other thing is, and what made me realize why people are complaining about the characters in this one when they don't complain about the characters in the other one, is that the other ones were Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh my gosh, how do these kids survive Freddy Krueger? Friday the 13th, how do these kids survive Jason? This is Freddy versus Jason. Nobody gives a shit about them. They are not meant to be in here. This is not about them. It's about these two. So it's kind of like that old, like the Poochie episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It's the, when are they gonna get to the fireworks factory? Every time it is on them, I was like, oh my god, go back to them. But I gotta say by it. I think they're both pretty damn good. That's one of the things why I still defend this. Freddy and Jason are pretty damn good in this film.
Yeah, like whenever they're beating the crap out of each other, I was enjoying it.
Not even that, just not, like, I'm going, like I said, only seen about 4 of the Friday the 13th films because they just don't do it for me, so I know people are going to get offended at me, but just remember that's where I'm coming from. Jason was just never my thing. This is probably my favorite Jason. This Jason in this film is probably my favorite because I never found him scary. So in this one, he's at least kind of awesome. I mean, the very first kill, when he comes in and just starts stabbing the guy, I was like, all right, just stabbing the guy. Then he folds him like a sandwich in the mattress. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And when he goes up to the big jock, who's just kind of like, which the jock had a weird accent in this thing. I just had to point that out. But when the jock starts taunting him, and he just... and then just gently pokes him down, I was like, that was a pretty damn good kill. I dig that one. By the way, I want to point this out quick. We were talking about this throughout the movie. It really feels like this film should have been in 3D, which this came out before the big 3D revival craze came about. But there's so many kills where it's like the thing going right at the screen, or like, you know,
like blood splattering at the screen.
Yeah, there's a moment in which the blood is on the screen.
Yeah.
But there's like the Freddy got your nose thing where his hand comes out of the magazine and grabs her. or when Jason throws the flaming machete at the guy and goes through his chest. I was like, how did they not like re-release this in 3D? This seems like it was made for that.
Yeah, this is also post Stinger's ending.
This was pre. Before.
Pre, right?
Yeah,
that's what I
there's
meant.
This film ends with what any other movie would have had be the post-credit stinger. They just didn't realize that was a thing back at this time. Because it's a very odd ending to this film.
Yeah.
Because it ends with Freddy gets decapitated, his head falls in the water. Jason falls in the water and he's died and he just slowly sinks into the ocean. And then in any other one of these movies, it would then cut to the teenagers like getting in the car, driving away, like talking to themselves, saying one last thing, they go off in the sunset or something. It immediately cuts to next day.
Yeah.
Jason walks out there holding Freddy's head and I was like, man, it's so weird to think now these days that is the perfect post-credit stinger.
Yeah, exactly.
They just didn't know that was an option back then.
Yeah, and Freddy, his decapitated head winks at the
audience.
It's like, I just kind of want a spin-off of this, like, just...
Yeah, what do they do now?
No, it's like, just Jason goes around and killing everyone while Freddy's head just makes wisecracks and everything that. That's...
No. When Jason first popped up in Friday the 13th 2, he had his mother's decapitated head in a cabin, and he kept hearing her voice talk to her, talk to him. He just puts Freddy's head there, and Freddy's now giving him orders. Freddy's telling him what to do. Jason, we need you to go to Texas. There's some guy who has a chainsaw down there. Trust me. That was the first thing you pointed out to me that made me laugh hysterically. At the beginning of this thing, when Jason came back to life, which is the weirdest part of this, it's actually in continuity with Friday the 13th Part 9, because in that one he dies and goes to hell, and the very end of that film is Freddy's glove coming out, grabs Jason's mask and sucks it down into the dirt. And at the beginning of this, Freddy is saying, all the kids forgot about me, and if no one knows me, then I have no power. Which, by the way, I couldn't help but stop and think about this. Oh my god, it's the Bye Bye Man. If you saw our review of Bye Bye Man last week, that was what the plot is. The way to kill this thing is to make people forget that it exists. And I was thinking, okay, this movie's bad, but it's so much better than Bye Bye Man, and it has so similar a plot in here. But I like this idea that Freddy's no one's afraid of me. I have no power over them in their dreams anymore. But I found in hell someone. And I was like, it's so weird that this is in continuity with the actual Jason franchise. Except as long as you don't include Jason X, which this was actually supposed to come out after Friday the 13th Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, but it got bogged down in production hell for so long that they were like, we have to do something with this, so they put out Jason X, which totally fucks up all continuity to this.
It's like Jason Goes to production hell.
There is an amazing, it's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. It's called Never Sleep Again. And even though, like I said, I have a lot of problems with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, this is a 4-hour-long documentary that just talks about the making of every single one of these. And I know 4 hours sounds insane. That, for me, sped by. I couldn't believe 4 hours went by. It might only be 3. I might be exaggerating, but it is a long documentary. But it got to the part where they were talking about Freddy versus Jason, and they talked about, we spent 20 years trying to make this thing, trying to get it to happen, and when Jason got sold a New Line, it was great, we can finally do this, and still we couldn't make it happen. It kept getting bogged down and stretched out, and they talked about how there were 100 different versions of the script of this, and I told a coworker about this, and he had the perfect line. I guarantee you every single one of those is better than what we actually got. And I was like, I bet. One of the scripts for this actually ends with both them killing each other, and then their souls get sucked down to hell, and then they wake up in hell, see each other, and immediately start going at each other again, only to be wrapped up in chains, and then Pinhead steps out and goes, Gentlemen, what seems to be the problem? And I was like, God damn it, every single one of these is better.
That's the big monster movie crossover we need.
And again, I'm the defender of this film. Okay, I will remind people of that.
You were just talking about a better plot while we were watching this.
Halfway through this movie, it hit me. There's a scene in here. It's after the whole Scooby Gang is assembled, and they're in the basement, And there's a moment that the main girl wakes up and out of nowhere just goes, wait, Jason was killed by water, Freddy by fire. How can we use that? And I just went, oh my god, this is the writer's room. They literally, like, cause this whole scene is nothing but them in a big circle around a table and one of them just half passed out on a couch, just pitching ideas for what to do about Freddy versus Jason. I went, this is the writer's room. This is literally, someone in the writer's room was half asleep on the couch, woke up and went, wait, I had an idea. Freddy was killed by fire, Jason by water. How do we do something with this? Granted, they don't do shit with that, by the way.
Well, kind of. I mean,
yeah, a little bit. A little. Like, water actually does hurt Jason. Mm-hmm. Freddy is fighting in full engulfed flames, and he doesn't give a crap. But yeah, it was during that moment that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it hit me. Dude, this is a complex-ass plot. Like, because the plot of this, it's so clear they wrote hundreds of scripts to get Freddy to fight Jason, and what they settled on was just a Nightmare on Elm Street script that they shoved Jason into. Mm-hmm. Because what this is all about is Freddy no longer has power. He no longer can hurt people because no one remembers him. No one thinks about him. And also, the people who do remember him are locked up in a psych ward.
And they're taking meds.
And they keep getting these drugs that prevent them from having dreams. Mm-hmm. And they then break out of there, and as soon as they break out, they start talking to people about Freddy, and then they kind of realize, wait a minute. Because they were like, why did we get shoved in here? Why is it nobody remembering us? Why are they like covering up like my brother's death or all these other things? And then they start talking about Freddy Krueger, and then it kind of hits them. Oh, nobody's talking about them because Freddy has no power if nobody knows about him. And I love that, like, the really rebellious guy who's like going in here is like, there's something behind this, there's a conspiracy, we gotta reveal the truth. As soon as he learns why there was the conspiracy, he just goes, oh no. And like, that's one thing I have to give this movie. I have never seen a movie where the conspiracy nut, after he learns why there's a conspiracy, goes, oh, I'm an asshole. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone.
I was like, shit, there is a reason why this is being covered up.
Oh, this should have been covered up. Oh, I screwed everything up. My bad. I've never seen that. I was kind of like, you know what? Good on you, movie. Good on you. But, like, yeah, there's this complex-ass plot, and Freddy tries to get Jason to murder people for him, because then they'll be, like, he tries to get people on Elm Street murdered by Jason, so that way they're afraid of him. Which, by the way, I never thought about this ever, but you actually asked the question as soon as this started. As soon as Freddy said, Jason, I need you to go to Elm Street.
It's like, how far away is Elm Street from Camp Crystal Lake?
I never thought about until this moment, and I knew that Camp Crystal Lake was in New Jersey. I knew that. Elm Street is in Ohio, which is like the perfect distance to make me go, that's stupid. Well, alright, I guess.
Like,
basically, it just means that Jason had to walk across Pennsylvania.
But Pennsylvania is a pretty big state, so it's like...
But it's not impossible.
It's
just enough I can buy it.
It's like, it probably just took them a very long time to get there.
And at the end of this film, like, they have to drive from Elm Street to Camp Crystal Lake, and it's like, I could see you doing that in one night. I could see, like, you'd have to stop for a tank of gas, which is kind of weird to think that they had Jason tied up in the back of their truck while they had to stop to get gas.
Yeah, they also needed to, like, keep a bunch of tranquilizers on him.
Yeah, they had to keep him in tranks to keep him asleep the whole time. So it's like, god damn, like, that was a long, freaky trip. Like, that's a good solid, I'd say 3 to 4 hours that they had to do that.
Maybe.
But again, that's like the perfect amount of time that I can go, alright, I guess that could happen.
I guess. Like,
I'll buy it, whatever.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, so in other words, like, yeah, he's got to get Jason to start killing for him to make people afraid and think that's Freddy. And part of me thinks that's kind of clever, but then the other part of me goes, that only works if no one sees Jason. How is this big-ass, 8-foot-tall zombie dude in a hockey mask who probably smells to high heaven? No one ever brings up this, but Jason has to stink. How does he, like, sneak into people's houses and murder them? And, like, nobody's like, yeah, that definitely was not Freddy, guys. I don't know who that was. He's from out of town, but that wasn't Freddy. So it's like, it's a crazy-ass plot. But I was like, well, how else could he get him to go up against the other? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it hit me. Okay, the whole Freddy hasn't been around for a while, so people are starting to forget about him thing. Keep that. But then go into, like, Freddy starts slowly coming back. So people who never heard of Freddy on Elm Street start having nightmares about him. And they go, you know what? It's probably just nothing. We're probably just stressed. We all need to go on vacation. My cousin knows of this place out in New Jersey. It's abandoned, but it's got a great lake out there. No one's gonna say anything. So just the kids who he's torturing on Elm Street go to Crystal Lake. Then, because that's the thing, Jason really only lives at Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Freddy, yeah, Elm Street is like his home base.
That's his turf, but...
But his home field is dreams.
Mm-hmm.
That can be anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, just don't pick up Jason and take him to Elm Street. Pick up Freddy and take him to Crystal Lake.
That's way easier. I mean, like...
Yeah, it's like, also, my pitch is 2 steps. Having nightmares, want to relax, go on vacation to Crystal Lake.
Yeah, it's like
Done.
no one's like driving down the road, not seeing some giant guy in a hockey mask on the way. It's like,
also, yeah, I mean, that's weird enough on its own. But also, it's like, then you throw in the whole, like, the drugs and the conspiracy to hide him, and there's this whole thing of like, oh, can we get the drugs? And we gotta go to this special location where they're keeping all the people who were victims and connected to Freddy in the past. And it's like, dude, this is way too complex for just seeing 2 monsters fight each other at some point. So yeah, it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, dude, you overthought the crap out of this. And the sad thing is, when you look at like the plot of it and take Jason completely out, it's like, okay, conspiracy to hide Freddy to try and take away his powers. Interesting, kind of goes back to what the first one was, got it. But then also, this was the early 2000s when the whole big, like, are we using too many pharmaceuticals thing was coming up. You have the plot be, there's drugs that keep people from dreaming, have everyone on Elm Street taking them, so that way Freddy is unable to enter anyone's dreams. That's a really interesting take on an Elm Street film, especially in the early 2000s when that was a big concern with everything. So, yeah, this actually could have been a pretty damn good Elm Street movie. And then you shove Jason into the middle of this thing. So yeah, man. But I will say, the fight is pretty damn cool. In fact, anytime that you really have them on screen, I still have the problems with Freddy that I always had.
Yeah.
Like, anytime that he says bitch, I'm like, dude, for real. And anytime that he tries to get, like, sexually predator-ish, I'm just kind of like, dude, I'm not afraid of that. I'm just kind of like...
That's just creepy.
It's just creepy. It's just like, dude, stop. Like, you control dreams. I don't need you to, like, be doing that on top of it. But even then, I do like some of the stuff there. Like, the idea that Freddy actually had a kill stolen from him. Like, he hasn't been able to kill anybody in years. Mm-hmm. He finally has enough power that he's gonna get this one girl, and then Jason snatches it, and is like, dude! I had my name on that! It was in the fridge next to my OJ, we all know. Yeah, it was one of those things like, oh, it's kind of like an interesting thing. I kind of like this idea that he's like, yeah, I brought him back so that people would fear me. Oh, wait, you can't control Jason.
Nope.
And now people are being afraid of Jason, not me. It's like, okay, that's actually kind of like, yeah, you let the dog off the chain, and you didn't realize there's a reason he's on the chain.
I also like the final battle where they basically just got each other's weapons and started killing each other with it.
Everything in the final battle I find is awesome, despite the fact that, like I said, yeah, the only way it can happen is if you somehow get Freddy in the real world, which takes away all his powers. Which to me is kind of the problem with this whole concept. It's like, don't you want to see this big figure have all his powers going up against this other figure with all his powers, but then you realize, yeah, one would be totally outmatched. Yeah. Man, it's so weird to see a film that's got an overly complex plot that really did not need one, that has a weird reason to have these two characters fight each other, and people are really disappointed in it simply because they've been waiting generations to see this actually happen. And then at the end, when it finally does happen, yes, the fighting is cool, but you had to completely rip one of the characters' powers away. You all know what I'm saying. Yes. There's one guy out there who's like, what the fuck is he talking about? But yeah, even with Freddy's powers taken away, it's a damn cool fight. Like, they got an action director to direct this thing, and it shows, man. It does. Because that's the other thing. If you're going to have this happen, you can't have these two guys fighting each other and have it be scary. So it's weird to have a horror franchise. Yeah. And it's like, how do we have them go against each other and still capture the horror element of it? And they spend the first 2/3 of this film trying to capture the horror element of it. And it's like, man, that just doesn't work. I would rather this have just been like, you admit, like, this ain't gonna be scary at all. we're just going to build up to them fighting and then have them fight. Like, that's it. Like, I would have far preferred that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the actual fight scene at the end, it's really awesome. Like, having Jason actually pick him up and, like, slamming him through walls. Like, when he slammed his head into the windows and just started running down, like, dragging his face through there, I was like, this is some Terminator shit. Like I said, you took Freddy's powers away, but he still has to have something in there, because he is putting up a fight in this. And I dig that, like, they actually did give Freddy a little bit of an advantage, because, yeah, there's no way he could actually take him down, so they did, like, put a construction site in there, which made me wonder, what the hell are you building at Camp Crystal Lake? Like, how have you not demolished this entire site? Because if this actually is in continuity with Friday the 13th Part 9, in that one, SWAT teams show up at Crystal Lake because they're like, we're tired of this motherfucker hanging around. It's time to take this guy out. That's another thing that Jason and Mike Myers have in common. They both got attacked by giant swarms of people with guns. So, yeah, them actually giving him, like, the air tanks to shoot at him, it's like, I don't think that's how that works, but it's awesome, so I'm not going to question it. And him having all the little, like, metal spikes that just, like, launches down at him. And then, like, when they actually just, like, run out of props, and it's just brutal, like, toe-to-toe, like, Freddy shoving his fingers into his eye, and then, like, Jason just, like, sticking his hand, like, slowly inside Freddy's body. It's like, God, it's really cool that you didn't just have them fight, you had them go to the edge. Like, these two guys just, like, used up 100% of everything they had going at each other. It's like, God, again, I will defend this film. After like going 10 years without seeing it and watching it again, I am willing to admit, yeah, it's not very good, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it. I bought this on DVD and it's got director commentary, and I'm like, I kind of want to watch this with director commentary now. Just simply because when they actually are going at each other, it's cool. And like I said, not even when they're going at each other. In that like final mode, I dug when Jason went into the dreamland. Like, that's a pretty damn cool thing to do there. And also, like, just seeing Jason's dream. I think I just said when Freddy went into the dreamland. I'm gonna swap their names constantly. But, like, even just seeing Jason's dreams. Like, he's just got, like, this tiny little island out in the middle of the giant lake, and it's just got all the dead bodies there on top of it. It's like, that's, like, the fact that you actually thought of what would Jason's dreams be is pretty dope to me. And as I said, again, coming from a guy who just never really cared about Jason, this is my favorite Jason, because anytime that he's actually, like, being Jason, it's awesome. Like, the fact that he, like, took that rave kid and flung him like a shot put. God, I love that. Yeah, this is, like, the first film that actually made me go, damn, Jason is actually pretty damn cool. And I find it interesting that this is the one that most people were disappointed in. But like I said, I think the main reason people were disappointed in this, I kind of said it jokingly to compare it to another film very similar to this, which I will admit, as I was watching this, I couldn't stop but think all throughout, this really does line up with that other film. It really is similar to that other Versus film. Godzilla vs. King Kong, that was the one. It wasn't the one. But yeah, I think the reason that most people were disappointed in this is just, they had been waiting like 20, 30 years, almost 30 years at this point, to see this happen. And there's no way it was going to really live up to the potential that you wanted. But at least you could have gotten a good film, and you didn't get a good film. I will stand by saying it's a fun film. And it's a fun film for Freddy and Jason. It's just they shoved in there some really bad teenagers you did not care about, and it refused to cut away from them. I think that's the big problem with this. And I feel like if you were going to put in there, like actual, like, you know, teenagers, quote unquote teenagers, if you're going to put in there characters to have them be the humans, there we go. If you're going to put humans in here, I really feel like it would have been so much better if you could actually have, like, gotten people from the previous films to come in. But then you run into the problem that movies 1 through 8 belong to Paramount, so really all you would have been able to do is bring in characters from Friday the 13th 9, Jason Goes to Hell, because you can't even bring in the one from 10, because that's Jason in space in the future. So that one's not in continuity. So really all you could have done is bring in his nephew, I think it was. Again, I haven't seen this one, I've just seen reviews of it. You could have brought in his nephew from 9 and had him be in there and had him be somebody like explaining some stuff to people. But you could have brought in anybody from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Like, they own that, so that would have opened. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, man, it would have been great if you could have gotten like the survivors from the previous films and like have Freddy take out one of the survivors from from the Friday the 13th series. Like, I mean, have the psychic girl from Friday the 13th Part 7 in there and have her fight Freddy. Like, have her go into the dream world and she actually has powers to fight back. And then Freddy still like manages to kill her. And then like Jason wakes up and goes, did somebody just, I feel something. What just happened? No, fuck. I'm forgetting the big obvious one. Tommy Jarvis. Get Tommy Jarvis, the guy who has been in 3 Friday the 13th films, have him come in here and have Freddy and have, God, I'm mixing their names again. No. And then have Freddy actually have to confront him. Have Freddy go into Tommy Jarvis's dreams and then he just sees Jason everywhere. And he's like, who the hell is this guy? And then like he leaves Tommy Jarvis alone because his dreams are too scary for him. And he's like, I have to go and find who this guy is because he's scaring people too much for me to be able to enter their dreams. I'm thinking of better fucking ideas here than what we actually got. God damn it. I'm sure somebody out there would have like heard that idea and gone, that's stupid. It's like, yeah, it probably is. But it would have been great to get some of the survivors from the other films in here. You just couldn't. So yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, the only reason I think it's really that bad is because they didn't give you as much of what you wanted as what you wanted. And also after 20 years worth of hype, how good could it possibly have been? But I still stand by when this just becomes the two of them going at each other, and even when it's just spotlighting them individually, I think it's pretty damn good. I find it so interesting that this is New Line, and yet I'm still coming in here going like, yeah, I really enjoyed their Jason the most. I'm pissing off the Friday the 13th fan. I apologize, but like I said, Jason just never did it for me. But yeah, any final thoughts on this?
No, I think you pretty much said it. It's like, I enjoyed it even though it wasn't a great movie. It's just still a fun movie.
It is. Like, it's fun. And to me, that's what horror is. It's just like, it gets your heart pumping, it gets your blood racing. Yeah, man, it's just there to kind of get you amped up. And yeah, I do enjoy, like, the chills that you get from being afraid are different from the ones you get from going, yeah, kick his ass. But, yeah, man.
It's still adrenaline.
Still adrenaline, yeah. This got some adrenaline going to me. And yeah, man, it's not like it had the big fight be them in the dreams, and then it was just a bunch of BS after that. It's like, the dreams was a pretty decent appetizer. Then you go into the actual fight, and hey, man, coming from the guy who for years was going, this is a stupid idea, because how are you going to have Freddy in the real world? And even if he is in the real world, he's just a regular guy. They took Freddy, put him in the real world, made him just a regular guy, everything I was afraid of, and they made it look damn cool. So, hey, man, hats off to you. So yeah, man, I enjoyed this, but I now see the problems people have had with it. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of it, and remember, all week long, it's Icon Week. We're talking about some of the biggest baddies in horror films, and hoo boy, I have some big ones planned for you. So thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure that you come back next time, and as always, happy Halloween.